guys, Jester here. Today I'm going to be going over the basic and first edition hardback books, or in this case, softcover book. Just an overview. Later videos I'll be going more in depth of each one, but today is just going to be a quick overview of the products that I have. I don't own all of them, but this is what I've got. So to start things off, we've got basic Dungeons and Dragons. Now this was, like I said, a soft cover book. This originally came out in 1974, but this is the 4th edition of that. So this particular book I'm holding in my hands came out in 1981. This is not the actual original book that I had, but 81 is about the time I started playing, and this would have been the one I first started using. It came with 3 hole punches because back in the day, binders were a big thing, especially in school, and you just punch holes in everything, stick it in your binder, and carry a big binder full of everything around to all your classes. Yeah, we played at D&D in school, and like I said, this is the basic D&D book. What's great about this rule book is it's got basically everything that you want to know about it. It's got the introduction, the player's information. You've got informational spells, the adventure, the encounter. It's basically a monster manual, a player's handbook, and a dungeon master's guide all rolled into one. The artwork in here is all black and white, but it is still very good in my opinion. And this actually came out in a boxed set. The front of the box looked exactly like this, only it was a purple surrounding color. Same picture on the front. It came in the box set. It came with an adventure, which was Keep on the Borderlands, which was designated as adventure B2 for basic 2. Came with a set of dice, and back in the day when the basic set was out, the dice, the numbers were indented into the dice, and it also came with a wax crayon that you could fill in the numbers, which was pretty cool back then. You know, kind of cheesy now, but you know, whatever. But that was what came in the box set. So you had the rule book, the adventure, set of dice. Then, first edition, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons came out. Now, basic Dungeons and Dragons had further higher levels, so to speak. You had went from basic to expert to companion, or something of that nature. But it was set in its own campaign world. I believe it was called Mystara. But then TSR came out with the first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons books. So these were pretty much the first 2 that came out. Wonderful artwork here. This is the Dungeon Master's Guide. You've got an Afridi on the front. On the back, you've got the City of Brass. On the plane of elemental fire. And then this was the player's handbook. This was a demon idol where the thief is trying to crawl up and take out his gem eyes. And then everybody else here is kind of just killing the troglodytes. That was part of it. And carrying them off and cataloging all the treasure that they received and all that good stuff. But in first edition, basically, you notice the difference in the sizes here. First edition was a lot different than any of the editions that followed. Basically, in the player's handbook, the only information that the players had was how to roll their character and the information that they needed to know as a character. Um, Everything else was in the Dungeon Master's Guide. Literally everything else. To hit tables, everything. I mean, the players in the player's handbook didn't even have the numbers that they needed to be able to know what they hit a creature. That was all provided by the Dungeon Master. That changed come second edition, but we'll get to that when I'm going into more in depth. Now you'll notice these two books here are also the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Player's Handbook. Great artwork. This is actually my favorite artwork of any of these books here. I don't know exactly what drew me to it. I just thought it looked really cool back in the day when I was a teenager, and this became my favorite book to own. What's the difference between this Dungeon Master's Guide and Player's Handbook and this Dungeon Master's Guide and Player's Handbook? Other than the artwork covers, absolutely nothing. They are exactly the same book. They just decided to, I guess, make some more money, and so TSR that is, and so they printed the same book with different covers and sold them like hotcakes. Later on, well, not later on, but then they came out with the Monster Manual. This is actually the second edition of this particular manual. It originally came out in 1977, and this is the 1978 copy. The artwork in here it's different than what, I mean, it's very interesting and unique. It gets a lot better as the editions go on, but this one's quite dingy and dirty. It's been used quite a bit, as you can tell by the stains all over it. But this had for the most part, your basic monsters in it. Then they came out with the Monster Manual 2, which had more of your higher level and unique monsters in it, and others that just didn't appear in the first one. You had the Fiend Folio, which even went above and beyond what was in those. This had all sorts of not so much fiends and demons. I mean, although it did include them in here, but it was just weird monsters. But a great thing to have when if you're a dungeon master. Then to take it to an epic level, you got the deities and demigods. This covers all of the different mythos and legends of real world. You've got anything from Norse gods to Finnish gods to Indian gods, both American and out east. What else we got here? Japanese, Greek, Egyptian, Chinese, Celtic, Babylonian, even from the tales of King Arthur. Just all sorts of things in the Deities and Demigods book. Then we've got the Manual of the Planes. What this is just basically all the different planes of existence, from the elemental planes to the abyss to lower planes of hell, all of your heavenly kingdoms and that sort of thing, plus the astral plane, the ethereal plane. Just that's, as the book says, it's the Manual of the Planes. Then we've got the Wilderness Survival Guide. They also came out with a Dungeoneer's Survival Guide. However, I don't own that one. But this basically just tells the players and the DM as well everything that you would need to know if you are adventuring in the wilderness, from learning how to survive in the Arctic or in the jungles of, with all the temperatures and swamps and mosquitoes and disease and all that kind of stuff, or climbing a mountain, just all sorts of things out in the wilderness. And you've got Unearthed Arcana. This was their attempt to basically add some more character classes and some spells and just that sort of thing. It's pretty cool. Now, all of my campaigns are based in the world of Greyhawk. They had other source books for the other worlds as well. I just don't own any of those because I never played any of those. But Greyhawk has always been my world of choice, and I've been playing it ever since, I guess, the mid-'80s. But this is a neat little book to have. It's got all the different spells unique to the Circle of 8 wizard group, plus just a bunch of lore and locations for adventures in the world of Greyhawk, plus a whole lot more, which we'll get into later when I do more in-depth on all these. Now, what you'll notice on the bindings, you can tell when they came out and that sort of thing. You've got all of these, which are pretty much the ones that came out originally before everything else exploded. And you'll notice the spines on these. Then you've got what is called the orange spines, which all of these have the same spine. So these all came out roughly around the same time period. So you've got Dungeoneer Survival, Greyhawk Adventures, Manual of the Plains, the second Player's Handbook, the second Dungeon Master's Guide, Monster Manual 2, and Unearthed Arcana. All of those have the orange spine. And then you've got the ones that don't have the orange spine that originally came out prior to these. That was Deities and Demigods, Fiend Folio, the first Player's Handbook, the first Dungeon Master's Guide, and the original Monster Manual. So guys, that about wraps it up for this session. Like I said, I'll be posting more videos in the next weeks to come, going in depth on each of these particular books. And until then, and as always, see you soon.